lesson on the basic flying and navigation of the Su-25T. This lesson will teach you how to get from point A to point Z and all points in between. I currently have the lesson in active pause. If you wish, you can turn on cockpit lighting by pressing L. Your airspeed is indicated in the top left corner of the HUD. The horizontal line below the airspeed indication with the caret below it indicates your acceleration or deacceleration. If the caret is on the left side of the line, you are deaccelerating. If it is in the center, your speed is not changing, and if it is on the right side of the line, you are accelerating. The smaller number above is your set airspeed for that leg of the route when you're in navigation mode. Press the spacebar to continue. Your altitude in meters is indicated in the top right corner of your HUD. An R to the right indicates it is radar altitude, or height above ground, and not barometric, height above sea level altitude. The smaller number above is your desired barometric altitude for that leg of the route. Press the spacebar to continue. You'll probably notice a circle in the center of the HUD. This provides you course steering to the next waypoint. By flying the aircraft to align the circle in the center of the bank and pitch indicator in the center of the HUD, you will reach your next destination on the course line. The course line is the direct line between two waypoints. Press the spacebar to continue. In the bottom center of your front dash is a horizontal situation indicator, or HSI, that looks like a compass. The yellow needle points directly to your next waypoint, and the top left field indicates the range of kilometers to that waypoint. The top right field indicates your course bearing to reach the next waypoint. The double white needles points to your course intercept. When you're on course to the next waypoint, both the yellow and white needles will align. Press the spacebar to continue. Ahead of you are a series of gates to fly through. Fly through the first gate directly ahead of you. You can push the control stick forward to push the nose down and dive, or pull back the stick to raise the nose and climb. These inputs control your elevator. Use the throttle, or page up and page down, to control your thrust. Try to keep your airspeed around 620 kilometers per hour. Press the spacebar when you're ready, and I will unpause the lesson. Note that when you pass through a gate, the next one's sequence will become larger if it's rather far away. If you get too fast, reduce the throttle and toggle your air brakes by pressing B. The next gate is above you and to the left. To change your heading, use your aircraft's ailerons to roll the aircraft to the left by moving your control stick to the left, and then gently pulling back on the stick until you are aligned with the next gate. The next two gates are below you and to the right. This time, roll the aircraft to the right and lower your nose to fly through the gates. Fly through the next gate directly ahead. As you go faster, your nose will want to rise, and as you go slower, the nose will want to fall. To keep your nose level, try using the trim. To trim the nose up, press right control and period. To trim the nose down, press right control and semicolon. Keep flying through the gates ahead. As mentioned in the previous lesson, you can also move your nose side to side using the rudder called yaw. Yaw left by pressing Z and yaw right by pressing X. In the lower center of the HUD, you can see the range indication to the next waypoint. In the lower right portion of the HUD is the next waypoint number, in this case, 15. You have several autopilot modes that can be quite useful during long flights. These include altitude hold, left alt and 1, altitude and roll hold, left alt and 2, level flight, left alt and 3, barometric altitude hold, left alt and 4, radar altitude hold, left alt and 5, route follow, left alt and 6. You can also toggle route follow mode by pressing A and altitude hold by pressing H. Let's try route follow mode that will automatically fly our flight plan. Press left alt and 6. Good. The aircraft is now under autopilot control. This concludes this lesson. You can practice using some of the autopilot modes listed below, or you can end the lesson now by pressing escape key.
And I will continue to fly this mission. And I'll go over to the list of autopilot modes that are shown above us. And what I'm going to do is turn out to the left over this valley to practice these autopilot modes. Now first we're in the route following mode, which is indicated by the number 1 and number 2 ACS push buttons being illuminated. Now if we pull up our manual and go to page 18, which I have on my kneeboard. We have here route following mode, and if we go to the description, it shows here route following mode. With the aircraft avionics in the en route or return navigation operational mode, the autopilot follows the assigned flight path. So that's route following mode. So let's disconnect our autopilot and turn out over to the valley here to our left, and let's discuss the autopilot modes that are shown to the list that Mr. Wagner has given us. Now the first one I'll discuss is what is called altitude hold, but it's actually incorrect. That is actually attitude and roll hold mode. So let me put it in this. Now we're going to go to a 10 degree or about 20 degree pitch, 30 degree bank, and activate it. Now at this point we're in an attitude and roll hold mode. Now pull up our kneeboard, and if we look here, it's called attitude hold mode. It retains current pitch and bank angles. And if we go to the next page, attitude hold mode. This mode, it stabilizes the current angles of pitch and bank. So the aircraft will retain its current pitch and bank. If we try to change the pitch, the aircraft will bring us back to our initially set attitude, which in our case is 20 degrees. If we try to change the bank, the aircraft will bring us back to our initially set bank angle, which is 30 degrees. Now what a beautiful sunrise. And this mode is indicated by the number 1 ACS push button being illuminated. So let's disconnect the autopilot and discuss the next mode. And again, it's not altitude hold, it's attitude hold. And this here causes a bit of confusion that you see come up on the forums every so often. So now let's talk about altitude and roll hold mode, which is actually barometric altitude and roll hold. And it is set. Let's set a barometric altitude. I'll try to retain a pretty even barometric altitude. About, let's say 5,600 and 50, and I'll set it. Now we are in barometric altitude and roll hold. And as you can see, it's similar to attitude, but instead of holding a set pitch, it holds a set barometric altitude. We go back to our manual and we see it here. Barometric altitude and bank angle hold. Right there. Go to the next page. Go barometric altitude, bank angle hold mode. It stabilizes the current pressure altitude above sea level, and that's important, above sea level, and angle of bank. It is convenient for making continuous level turns. So, and that is indicated on our ACS by the number 1 and number 4 push buttons being illuminated. So again, that is altitude or barometric altitude roll hold. So, put away our kneeboard and disconnect the autopilot. And now we are going to go to what is called level flight and roll hold. Now, level flight and roll hold is different in if I'm going to put it into a steep bank and we are in a descent, and then I'm going to initiate level flight, which is actually called emergency leveling mode. So, as you can see, the aircraft corrects itself in bank and in pitch, and this mode is indicated by the number 1 and number 3 ACS push buttons being illuminated. If we bring up our kneeboard, go back a page, and it's right here, emergency leveling mode. Go to the next page, and we see it, emergency leveling mode. It brings the aircraft to straight and level flight from any initial altitude. While the initial bank angle exceeds plus or minus 80 degrees, ACS controls the flight first in roll, then in pitch. When bank angle is within plus or minus 7 degrees and pitch angle is within plus or minus 5 degrees, the barometric altitude hold ACS mode is activated and bank is further reduced to 0. Barometric altitude hold mode, it stabilizes the current pressure altitude above sea level. Oh, well, we're not going to go into that. But anyway, that is emergency leveling mode. And here it's just called level flight. So let's put away the kneeboard. And let's next talk about barometric altitude hold. Disconnect our flight again. Come back over the valley. Now, I have us in about 3,700 meters of altitude. Let's go down to about 3,500. I'll see if I can hold this. So, alright. So now we are in barometric altitude hold mode. So, that's indicated by the number 1 and number 4 ACS push buttons being illuminated. Now the difference between barometric altitude hold and barometric altitude roll hold is we have control in barometric altitude hold mode of our bank angle. We can change the bank angle to whatever we see fit, whatever we desire. So I bring this up in the ACS. Here it is, barometric altitude hold. Barometric and barometric altitude hold mode. It stabilizes the current pressure altitude above sea level. And again, this mode compared to barometric and altitude roll hold is we have control over the roll. And let's go over our last mode, which is, or the next mode, which is radar altitude hold. And disconnect our autopilot. And let's get down to where our radar altimeter is engaged. Which I believe is 1,500 meters. Okay, our radar altimeter is engaged. So, activating radar altitude hold. And what this mode does is bring up our board. Radar altitude hold with automatic terrain avoidance. I'm going to take us back down before discussing anymore. Get us back down to a lower altitude. Okay, below 2,000 meters. And again, let's set our radar altitude hold mode. So, this mode is indicated by the number 1 and number 6 ACS push buttons being illuminated. Now, if I bring up the book, the manual, radar altitude hold mode with automatic terrain avoidance. Okay. Radar altitude hold mode. This mode is selected by, well, in our case, we'll skip that. It stabilizes the current radar altitude above ground level. In this ACS mode, the terrain avoidance submode is also active. And the terrain avoidance submode is engaged whenever the current altitude above ground level as measured by the radar altimeter is half or less than the initial value in the barometric altitude hold ACS mode, where the rate of descent measured by the radar altimeter exceeds minus 50 meters per second. And basically the difference between radar altitude hold mode and barometric altitude hold mode Its radar altitude hold mode attempts to hold the aircraft at a set altitude above ground level. And in radar altitude hold mode, we have control over bank angle. We can change our bank angle and hold it as we so wish. So, and that is a description of the differing altitude hold modes. And radar altitude mode again is indicated by the number 1 and number 6 ACS push buttons being eliminated. So with that said, it's been about 20 minutes into this flight, and what I'm going to do is continue flying the gated route that Mr. Wagner has set up for us and do a practice landing. So I will continue doing this in part 2 of this video.